Hello, Facebook and Instagram. Ben France here with Benjamin France Music. Will eventually or soon be BenjaminFranceMusic.com. Touching in or checking in for episode 3 of Guitar 101. This is a series of lunchtime, what I'm calling lunchtime lessons. Like a lot of people, I am currently under a stay-at-home order, and so working from home, therefore I have my lunch break here in the house where I can actually share some musical knowledge. So, like I mentioned on the previous live streams, the purpose of this, trying to get everything in frame here for everyone, the purpose of these lessons basically are basic introductory guitar lessons for people who've never played before, are wanting to learn how to play guitar. That is what we are doing here today. That's why we're doing these lessons, why I'm streaming live to you right now if you're seeing this. If not, these are going to be available on replay as well. So first off, let's get some of the nuts and bolts stuff kind of out of the way. You can follow me on social media. On Instagram, it is Benjamin France Music, where I'm streaming currently live on Instagram. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Ben France Music, and that's spelled F-R-A-N-C-E, just like the country. On YouTube, I'm under 100 subscribers. I've just got my YouTube channel started not too long ago, so you've got to search for me, but if you search for Benjamin France Music, it'll come up on YouTube as well. And I do tweet occasionally on Twitter I believe it's under Ben France Music, and I actually just signed up for Twitch last night, so I will probably start doing some streaming on Twitch as well. These lessons air live at 1:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's GMT minus 5 hours. I apologize. Previously, I think I was saying it was GMT minus 6, but I verified that this morning. So depending on where you are in the world, that hopefully gives you a point of reference as when these things are going to be available. Typically, these are going to last somewhere 15 to 30 minutes. They're kind of short introductory lessons. I've ran a little long on the past couple because I feel like I was spending too much time covering what the previous lessons had been about. So we'll talk. Ooh, look at that. We'll talk more about that as we get into the lesson today. So, what do you need for these lessons? Internet connection where you can see and hear me, obviously a guitar of some sort, whether an acoustic or electric. All the concepts we're going to be covering are introductory beginner type concepts, and they're going to apply to any guitar that has 6 strings on it, whether it's an acoustic or electric guitar. Everything is set in standard tuning. If you are new to guitar, you won't really know what that means, or you may not know the difference between that and anything else, but basically meaning tuned low to high. Your strings, starting with the 6th string, the one closest to your head, are tuned E, A, D, G, B, and E. If you don't have a tuner, if you have just an acoustic guitar, use your phone. You can get a tuner app. There's some pretty good quality ones out there you can get for free. Also, things you want will be to get a metronome app as well. Some of the exercises we start getting a little more advanced. We're going to want a metronome to work on our timing just so we get smoother. So make sure you get a metronome app also. I just use one called Metronome, I believe, or Metronome Live or Free Metronome. I don't remember the exact name of it. I've had it on my phone for probably 6 or 7 years, but it works really well, serves its purpose fine. Obviously, other things you need a pick to pick the notes on the guitar that you're playing, and you need a guitar of some sort. So, that being said, let's real quickly cover what we did on the last lesson, just kind of go briefly over it, and then we're going to dive into the new material that we're going to cover today. Like I said, with the goal of these lasting about 15-ish minutes, stretching them maybe to 30 minutes, depending on the concept we're working on, but this is my lunch hour, so it would be nice to have a little bit of time to actually eat lunch as well during this hour. So, last time we covered the difference between upstrokes and downstrokes on a guitar when you're picking or strumming a guitar. Downstrokes meaning you're strumming away from you or picking away from you, or picking. Upstrokes meaning you're bringing your hand back up towards you or either strumming or picking. And we also covered alternate picking, that interesting beast that really starts opening up opportunities for you as you get further and more advanced, meaning that you're alternating between a downstroke and an upstroke. So if you're strumming, that'd be something like this. And alternate picking individual strings. Just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. We covered an exercise to start building up our dexterity on our left hand and build up the strength of our fingers, because if you're new to guitar, you're going to know, or you're going to notice pretty quickly that your fingers get tired really quick and your fingertips start hurting really quickly. So the hurting part, that comes with repetition. You need to be practicing this stuff that we're going through. You need to be practicing it routinely, putting the time in. You'll start building up calluses on your fingertips. You probably can't see on this camera real well, or on this one either, but there are calluses on the ends of my fingers. That makes it where they don't hurt as much. The strength in the fingers comes from just repetition, doing the exercises, the activities. There are some finger trainers, some little spring-loaded things you can buy that you put in the palm of your hand, and it has 4 little buttons with springs on them where you can press it down. I've never owned one of those, but it might be something to look into if you're wanting to work on getting your fingers stronger. So the exercise we learned last week was a real basic one, where we basically were playing 1 note per finger, fretting the note, and going across all of the strings doing that. So something like this. First finger on the first fret of string number 6, the closest to you, and then we go sequentially up 1, 2, 3, 4 on fingers and frets. And once we get done with that string, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we go down to the next string, the 5th string. And just keep going. Now, we talked real briefly, I touched on descending with your fingerings as well. We didn't really talk about that a lot last time, but that's good to do as well. That's just more reps, more repetition. Think of it as if you're working out. If you're learning to play basketball, if you're learning to play another instrument, anything you're doing, the more you do it, the more it sticks in your brain, the more you get muscle memory as well in your hands with this. So, not a bad idea to go up and down on those. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. So like... What is your right hand doing while you're doing that? You can do that all downstrokes, individual notes, or individual picking down, or you can alternate it. Right now, the point of this exercise is to mainly get that strength going in your left hand, so don't focus as much on what you're doing with your right hand as far as changing it up. If you need to do it all down picking, that's perfectly fine. Finally, last time we learned the E major chord, or the E chord, which is this chord. That is made up of your low E string, the 6th string, the one closest to your head, open with no fingers on it. The 5th string with your middle finger on the 2nd fret. That gives you a B note. So we have an E and a B. The 4th string with your ring finger on the 2nd fret. That's another E. So you've got this so far. And then the 4th string, or the 3rd string, pardon me, the 3rd string, your 1st finger, and you put that on the 1st fret. Okay, that's a G sharp. So, and then we can play the 2 strings above it as well. That is a B, because remember we have a B here, so it's the same note, just an octave higher. And we can play the open E string as well. That's this guy. For those of you that just joined on Instagram, great to see you here. This is episode 3 of Guitar 101, so covering some basic guitar info. If you missed the introduction to this video, for people who are just wanting to start out learning guitar. So that E major chord, or that E chord once again. And remember we talked about last time that if we just say it's an E or an A, that means that it is a major chord. If we were to be something different, like a minor or a diminished or an augmented chord, we would say that. So if we call it an E chord, that means it's an E major. So once again, E, B, E, G sharp, B, E. And strumming it sounds like this. And the lesson before, lesson 1, we learned A major also. Go back and refer to that lesson. These streaming lessons, I do have them uploaded on my YouTube channel and also on the Facebook page as well, so you can go back and watch them over again. They usually go up at the end of the day, or I try to get them at the end of the day, whenever they've went live. So there's our E major we learned last time, our E chord. And we'll switch to our A major that we learned the first time, or A. that's the chord of the day we're going to do today. So this is a D or a D major chord. So notice that goes really well with the A and also with the E. So how do we make that D chord? What does that guy look like? Well, remember our strings we talked about the last 2 lessons. Each one of these strings has not only a number that refers to them, starting from the highest, furthest away from your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they also have a letter that refers to them as well. Starting with the one furthest away from your head is E, B, G, D, A, and E. So, how do we make a D chord? Well, remember one thing we talked about when we're building chords is typically in what's called the first inversion of the chord, we want the root note, meaning that the note the chord's named after, to be our lowest pitch note. So, if we're playing a D chord, we want a D note to be our lowest pitch note, or the one on that's closest to our head for these purposes. What does that look like? Pardon me, I'm dealing with some allergies and stuff. I promise it's not COVID-19. And even if it was, it's not like those of you who are watching this would be able to contract it for me. The benefits of technology. Yay. So, and not to make light of that by any means, I have a really good friend who his son is currently basically fighting for his life with that 21-year-old kid. So put some good thoughts out there in the world for Evan Shermer, if you wouldn't mind, and his family. So back to our D chord, or our D major chord. Remember, we want our root note to be our lowest pitch note. So, going through our strings again, we had a D string. Which one was the D string? Does anyone remember? That is string number 4. David, who just joined on Instagram, thank you for joining. We are in episode 3 of Guitar 101, the bare basics of learning how to play guitar. So, our D string is string number 4, this note. So when we're building a D chord, that is the first note we want to play, is that D string open. No fingers on it, just playing that note. Next thing we want to do, and there are a couple different ways you can finger this. This is the way that I finger a D chord because it makes it easier to change to a D minor, which we'll talk more about later. So you'll take your middle finger, finger number 2, put it on the 2nd fret of string number 3, right below the one you were just on. So this is your D, is the open note. 2nd finger, 2nd fret of string 3, that's an A. A is the 5th in the D major chord. So what does that 5th mean? I've said that several times, but people may be wondering, if you don't know any music theory, what that means. How do you figure out what's a 5, or what's a 7, or what's a 3, or what's a 4? There are some technicalities or some specifics you have to get into depending on if it's a major or minor, depending on what key you're in or what note you're starting with. But in general, think of your notes, whether it's a root, a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th, as counting up by numbers 1 through 7 based on where you're starting with, what your starting note is. So they repeat A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the next one would be an A. They just start repeating. It cycles around those 7 notes over and over again. So if we say that this is a D chord, then if D is 1, you'd have D is your 1, that's your root. You have E would be your 2, F would be your 3, G would be your 4, and sorry, let me set the pick down. G would be your 4, and your 5 would be your A. Ta-da! So when I say that your A note, this guy, finger number 2 on fret number 2 of your 3rd string, is the 5th in D, in this D chord. That means that it's 5 notes above your D, including the D. You always start with number 1 being the note your root note, what you're starting with. So we've got our root number 1 note, D, and our 5 number 2 note, which is an A. So there's root and 5. First 2 notes of the D major chord. So, next note in this chord, you take your 3rd finger, your ring finger, the one with my ring on it there, and you put that on the 3rd fret of string number 2. That note should sound like this. And let me get in here close for everybody so you can see this. So, see there, I'm on the 2nd string. There's string number 1. Here's string number 2. And we're putting that on the 3rd fret with our ring finger. that note, since this is a B string, that note is a D. Trust me on it. We can count it up if we need to. So if this is a B, then there's a C. That would be a C sharp or a D flat. Then there's a D. Okay, so now we've got the first three notes of our D chord, or our D major chord. That is your open fourth string, D, your second finger, ring finger, or your middle finger, pardon me, on the second fret of string number 3. That's an A. Remember, that's our fifth. And let me turn it here so everybody can see it so the cameras line up. And then we have our third finger, our ring finger, on the third string. That gives us another D. Those two notes are the same, only an octave apart. Hear how they sound exactly the same? Whereas these two sound different. Okay? Final note in our D major chord. We take our pinky, or pardon me, our index finger. Apologize for that. We take our index finger, we put that on the second fret of our first string. Now remember, that's an E string, so then one step above that, one fret would be an F. The next one would be an F sharp. So, that note is an F sharp. So that is our third in our chord for D major. So we've got our root is a D, open fourth string. We've got our fifth, which is the A, this guy right here, second fret, middle finger on the third string. We've got our D, which is an octave, 12 steps above the first one. And then we've got our F sharp, which is the third one. That is index finger on the second fret of string number 1. And that, just as an FYI, that octave, that second D, is the third fret on the second string with your ring finger. So there are your notes. So strum that a few times. Get your fingers in position. So remember, once again, ideally, you want this to be the lowest note, which means you don't really want to be strumming strings number 5 and number 6. Because number 5 is not in that chord. Remember, if you think of our notes, or number 6, pardon me, your number 6 string is an E. That's not in this chord. If you remember the notes we just said, we have a D, which is that open string. We have an A, which is our middle finger, second fret on third string. We have a D, which is our ring finger on third fret of second string. And we have an F sharp, which is our index finger on the second fret of the first string. So in this, what's called a triad, or a chord made up of 3 notes, we do not have an E. Based on that, we don't want to play this low string, because that would not really go with this chord when we're playing just a regular D major chord, or a straight D chord. So if you listen to it, it sounds a little weird. That guy kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. If we play the other 5, we can kind of get away with that, because remember that this guy right here, string number 5, is an A string, and we have an A in this chord right here, remember? So we can kind of get away with that. But if we play that E in there, things go all kinds of sideways. So we want to not strum that lowest string. We just want to strum, ideally, the top 4 strings if we're playing a D chord or a D major chord in the first position. Music theory stuff, meaning basically the basic introductory position of that chord, for lack of a cleaner way of putting it at this point. So ideally, we just want those top 4 strings. We want that open string number 4, middle finger, second fret on string number 3, ring finger, third fret on string number 2, and we want index finger, second fret on string number 1. So those 4 strings give us our D major or our D chord. And like I said, if you want to strum string number 5, you can. That's another A, so that's the same note as this, as what your middle finger is doing, only it's an octave lower or 12 steps lower. And if you need proof of that that's an octave or 12 steps lower, if this is our low one, if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, listen to this note and this note. Same note. So you can play that string number 5 if you want to, playing your D chord. And it'll sound like this. It makes it sound a little thicker. But if you want to play it just as a first position basic D chord on your guitar, then you want to play it with strings number 4, 3, 2, 1. Fingers are open, no finger, second finger, third finger, first finger. Notes are D, A, D, F sharp. Strummed down, it sounds like this. Or strummed up, pardon me. Up strumming sounds like this. Down strumming like that. So do that a few times, strumming back and forth. Okay, so there's our chord for the day, D major or D. So remember, so far we've learned 3 major chords. These are 3 basic chords. You've got D major or D that we learned today, the D chord. We have E major that we learned last time. And we have A major that we learned the first time. So all 3 of those chords go pretty well together. If you play your D, and then you play an A, those 2 go really well together because they're in the same key. All right, so I always want to give you guys one new chord to learn and to practice. I also always want to give you one exercise of some sort to work on. So this last time we did our exercise on building up our left finger strength, doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on all the strings. So for our exercise today, let's focus on something. Let's do a picking exercise, something for our right hand. Now, the thing you need to do on this, like I said previously on the previous videos, is the only way you're going to get better at these things, they're going to get easier, is if you practice these in between the times that we're here face to face. So you need to be working on this stuff in your own time when we're not here as well. Practice makes perfect, or practice makes better and more proficient. That would be what I would say is practice makes proficient, which is what you want to get to do. So that's our left hand exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Today, let's do an alternate picking exercise. So get your metronome. Remember I told you to download a metronome app. And set your metronome at a tempo that's comfortable for you. I don't have a metronome right in front of me right now because it's on my phone. I don't want to interrupt a live broadcast, so I'm going to tap my foot. Bear with me. It'll probably go up and down a little bit in tempo because I'm not a computer where I can keep it completely even. But get your metronome running at what's a comfortable pace for you. We'll go really slow like this. Okay? Work on your alternate picking. Remember, alternate being you pick down, you pick up, down, up. Sync it with that metronome. Set your metronome. It'll have different settings on it where it has a thing where it'll say time signature. Set it to 4/4. What that means is each beat in the measure is a quarter note, or gets a quarter note. And there's 4 quarter notes in a measure. So set it to 4/4 at a speed that's comfortable for you, and practice your alternate picking on that 4/4. 2, 3, 4. Each beep, pick the note. Excuse me. That will get you more comfortable with a couple things. One, it's going to start developing your sense of rhythm, so you become more smooth. When you get to the point you start playing songs and playing music with other people, it's going to help immensely if you have some sort of sense of rhythm. Now, some of us are naturally better than at that than others. If you've ever been a percussionist in your life, you're probably pretty good at that. Some of us, rhythm may come a little bit more difficult. We may find ourselves doing things like, where it's not real smooth. That's okay. Just work really slow. Start your metronome really slow. Pick along with that. And practice alternating. So don't just do them all down all the time. Go as slow as you need to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And if you want to take it to the next step, bonus points, next level, if you want to get some bonus points for some extra credit, alternate pick your different strings, meaning that go from one string to the next string, going straight down, and alternate your picking. So what does that mean? This is definitely extra credit. This is a little more advanced. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you try doing it and it's frustrating, that's okay. You don't have to do this. And remember, like I said, it's always going to feel frustrating when you first start out. It's going to get better and easier the more you do it, I promise. But if you want to practice alternate picking on different strings for extra credit for bonus points, you would let's start on string number 6. You pick down on 6, up on string 5, which means you've got a little bit of a jump there. If you look here, we're not going straight down. That's a little bigger space from here to here. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Start doing that just on 2 strings. Don't get it where it's too difficult for you, but that's good because that starts getting your hand and your brain wrapped around the fact that you're going to be picking different notes on different strings. You're not going to be playing everything on one string like this. So do string 6 down, string 5 up, string 6 down, string 5 up. We're going to stop at that point. I'm not going to go any more in because we could start getting really, really deep into alternate picking and different things to do, but I don't want to overwhelm people that are just starting out with too much stuff. So let's just do a recap of what we did today. We're at about 26 minutes now. I need to cut this at about 30. That way I have a little bit of time to eat a lunch. So let's recap what we're doing today, or what we covered today. We did a recap of our 2 previous lessons, obviously. Okay? And then we learned a new chord today. We learned the D major chord, or the D chord. That chord, remember, just to review, is your open. I'm going to come in closer where you can see it again. It is your open 4th string, which is the D string. It is your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. That is an A, is the note. And obviously your D string open with no fingers on it is a D. So it's a D, it's an A with your 2nd finger on fret number 2 of string 3. It is your ring finger, finger 3 on fret 3 of string 2. That is another D. So we've got D, A, D. And then it is your index finger on fret 2 of the highest string of string 1. That is a F sharp. So our D chord, or D major chord, is made up of D, A, D, F sharp. You can strum that or you can pick the notes. I would recommend practicing both. Individual picking of notes, like I'm doing there, and also strumming. Also practice upstrokes and downstrokes on your strumming, so do things like this. Now you may notice when you're strumming, particularly when you're strumming and doing upstrokes and you're just learning this stuff, you may very well get your 5th string in there, this note. Remember, that's okay because that string is another A, so that's part of this chord naturally. What you don't want to play is you don't want to play your thickest string, string number 6, while playing a D chord, because that is not part of a D major triad or a D major chord. Sounds weird, right? This guy sounds pretty good. If you have string number 5 in there, this guy sounds really good, really clear, just with the top 4 strings. This sounds really weird if you put the thickest string 6 in there. So, a way you may be asking yourself, maybe wondering, well, how can I not play that string? Especially if I'm doing upstrokes and I'm new to that doing this. How am I not going to catch that string? You'll get more proficient at it the more you do it. If you want a little bit of a tip right now, what you can do is you can take your thumb, you notice how it's coming around the neck here, how I have it here, and you can just lightly rest it where it's curved a little bit on that 2nd string. All right, right above that 2nd fret. Don't push it down, don't try to fret it. You can have it just laying on it, and that will kind of cut that out. Now you'll notice it will you'll still hear that. So don't rely on that. But if you want to just get something to help you out a little bit when you're getting used to doing this, you can do that. So, that is the end of today's lesson, Guitar 101, Episode 3. Like I said at the top of this lesson, I'm doing these Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, doing these at 1:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, minus 5 hours, so 5 hours behind wherever you are in GMT. So right now, GMT, it would be at about 6:45 p.m. It is about 1:45 p.m. my local time, which is Central Time here in the United States. These are streaming live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the foreseeable future, as long as I'm working from home due to the COVID-19 situation anyway. On Instagram, for those of you who have checked in on Instagram, and also on Facebook on my Facebook page. My Instagram is Benjamin France Music. Facebook is facebook.com/Ben France Music. I do upload these before midnight of the same day, and then they get reshared on my Facebook page for those of you that missed the live stream, and they also get put on my YouTube channel, which is Benjamin France Music as well. If you just search YouTube for Benjamin France Music, you'll find it. Also, like I mentioned, I did just sign up for Twitch last night, so I may be streaming some of these on Twitch in the future, and I additionally am active on Twitter as well under Ben France Music. So, as always, I hope that these lessons are being helpful and useful for you, that you're learning something. I love this. I love sharing my love of music and love the idea of helping somebody start out their journey on the guitar. Feel free to leave comments, input, provide me with things you think are helpful, things you think aren't helpful, that sort of thing. Also, if you do go to the YouTube channel or any of the social channels, I would love it if you'd follow me on my social channels. If you're seeing this on YouTube, it would be awesome if you'd give me a thumbs up. And also, if you want to subscribe to the page, that would be even better, because I'm trying to build my YouTube following up, and I'll be doing a lot more in-depth and more advanced guitar stuff on YouTube going forward. In addition to lessons, be doing some things like gear reviews, putting some of my own original music up there, just all kinds of content for you all. So, hope this has been very helpful and very useful. As always, feel free to hit me up with any questions you have. You can always hit me up through my social channels, or you can email me at benjaminfrancemusic@gmail.com. Take care, everyone, and we will be live again on Wednesday afternoon, which will be the 8th. Have a good day. _21 after all much stuff. $8 p.m.? That makes me nervous. April 3rd. So it's all right here, though, so you just make sure I've got that. Show and finder. 1:40. Why does that only show 1:47 p.m.? What happened? Oh, if that didn't stream right, I'm going to be so upset. Did that not stream right? No, it's there. It sure shows it's there anyway. 32 minutes. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's go to projects, video projects, and live streams. Let's make sure it's in there. Oh no, there it is. So there's the big one. 800 meg. Okay, so there it is. It's there. That's good. QuickTime, QuickTime player. So it's there. Okay, so now I can do this. So let's kill OBS. Quit OBS. Yes.